Good evening. I hereby call this meeting of the Finance Committee of the Brockton City Council for July 10th, 2023 to order. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance by rising.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Item number 1.
Item 1, acceptance of the minutes of the June 5th, 2023 Finance Committee meeting. Accepted and placed on file.
Accepted and placed on file.
Item 2, acceptance of the minutes of the June 12th, 2023 Finance Committee meeting.
Accepted and placed on file.
Item 3, acceptance of the minutes of the June 13th, 2023 Finance Committee meeting.
Accepted and placed on file.
Item 4, acceptance of the minutes of the June 14th, 2023 Finance Committee meeting.
Accepted and placed on file.
Item 5, acceptance of the minutes of the June 15th, 2023 Finance Committee meeting.
Accepted and placed on file.
Item number 6, appointment of Jackie Joseph of Brockton, Mass. to the City of Brockton Cultural Council as a member for a 3-year term ending June 2026. Invited Jackie Joseph.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor.
Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the committee. I don't know if Ms. Joseph's delayed, but I will tell you that, like any board and commission, I did an interview with her. She applied, letter of reference, a resume. We did a Zoom. She has a lot of energy, a lot of experience. I think she'll make a wonderful addition, and I would humbly ask for your positive vote on this. Thank you.
Councilor Thompson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Out of respect for Ms. Joseph, I was hoping if we could make a motion to postpone this matter to the end of the hearing to see if she arrives, if that's the will of this council.
I have a second? Great. I have a motion to postpone that's been properly seconded. Councilors, all in favor? And opposed? It passes.
Item number 7, appointment of Lily Green of Brockton, Mass. to the City of Brockton Conservation Commission as a commissioner for a 3-year term ending June 2026. Invited Lily Green.
Good evening, Madam Chair. I'm proud to introduce you to Ms. Green. She, again, has applied for the Conservation Commission. As you know, we have a definite need as we're doing development around the city to have folks that are, vested and with a professional acumen to make a benefit on the Conservation Commission. So I proudly, I want to thank her first of all, but I proudly endorse her her application before you, and I hope it's going to be favorable, and she's here to answer any questions. Thank you.
Yeah. Ms. Green, do you have a statement you'd like to make to us?
Sure. Hello, how are you all today? Thank you for seeing me here at your meeting. I'd like to thank the mayor and to Ms. Voorhees, the director of the commission, for telling me about this opportunity. I've been involved with environmental work since being under her teaching since high school, and then my master's in environmental science and working with the community. I'm very excited to have this opportunity to be part of the commission and help the community that I grew up with and getting to talk to the people of this city.
Thank you. Question?
Motion to recommend favorably to the full City Council.
Second.
Great. Motions are made and properly seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Thank you for applying and good luck to you.
Thank you. Have a great night.
Madam Chair, I just want to let you know that Ms. Joseph is here in the chamber. She did show up a little tardy, but she's here. Thank you.
Okay.
You want to take that now?
Let's take it now.
Yeah.
Yes.
Item 6, I'll reread, is appointment of Jackie Joseph of Brockton, Mass. to the City of Brockton Cultural Council as a member for a 3-year term ending June 2026. Invited Jackie Joseph.
Good evening, Ms. Joseph.
Good evening.
Do you have a statement you would like to make to us?
Yes, my name is Jackie Ann Joseph. I am the founder and creative executive for the Arts Foundation, which is a nonprofit organization. I'm also trained as a global IT project manager, and I've been living in Brockton since 2018, and I would love to serve on this committee.
That's great. Thank you.
Motion to recommend favorably.
Second.
A motion's been made and properly seconded to approve this favorably. All in favor? Opposed? Thank you. It carries. Thank you and good luck.
Item number 8, ordered that the following named sum be and the same is hereby transferred as the same was submitted by the mayor as follows. Appropriation of $500,000 from the Department of Public Health, Bureau of Substance Addiction Services to the City of Brockton Mayor's Office, $500,000. This is for a 2-year period, which will cover fiscal year 24, July 1st, 2023 to June 30th, 2024, in the amount of $250,000, as well as July 2024 to June 30th, 2025, in the amount of $250,000. Invited Mayor Robert Sullivan, Troy Clarkson, Chief Financial Officer.
Good evening, Mr.
Good evening,
Mayor.
Madam Chair, members of the committee. This is the amount that's a pass-through, in essence, to High Point, which is the designated provider by the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. So this grant will come to the city of Brockton, but it goes to High Point for other endeavors that they do. In my office, our Director of Social Services, Jasmine Bradshaw, works with High Point each and every day. If you have any financial questions, the CFO is happy to answer it, but this is an extremely important grant that we utilize. But again, it is coming to the city of Brockton for the sole purpose to be passed back to High Point for all their wonderful initiatives here in the city.
Thank you. Questions, councilors?
Motion to recommend favorably.
Second.
Okay, on the motion, Councilor Farwell?
On the motion, and Mr. Mayor, the CFO didn't have any information, but maybe you do in your discussions. High Point serves a great many communities, and I just had this pulled up here on my phone. I would tell you what they are, but basically it's Whitman, East Bridgewater, Brockton. My only question is, we respond there with emergency services when needed. We respond there with police. Do we know what the other communities serviced by High Point contribute? And then, and I wasn't being snarky last night when I sent this, but you know, the chief executive officer of High Point makes $323,000, and it looks like he has revenues of $64 million. I'm glad we don't have to pay you on a sliding scale based on what he receives.
My wife would like that, though, Council, I'll tell you that.
I don't think the city could afford it, but do we know anything about who contributes as well to that campus?
Yeah, I couldn't tell you what the contribution is for other municipalities. I can just tell you what we do here in the city of Brockton. High Point was one of the first organizations in the city that stepped up during the pandemic. It was Father Bill's, it was High Point, it was Neighborhood Health Center, and it was the two local hospitals. So, and in light of the 11-alarm fire at Brockton Hospital, they've created beds for mental health and behavioral health over there, serving a lot of Brocktonians, like Brockton residents, but not all, not 100%. Again, this is a grant going to them, but it has to come to the municipality. They happen to be located in the city of Brockton. It comes to the city. If they were located in Easton or Abington, it would go to the town and then go to High Point as well. So I can find that information before you take a final vote on this, Councilor. But I can tell you right now, they do God's work here in the city of Brockton.
No question about it. I just, as I say, where they're situated here, and we do provide support services, either EMS, police, God forbid, fire. I just wondered if other communities were contributing, but
We'll find that out for you, Councilor.
I certainly don't object to recommending this favorably. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councilor.
Anyone else? Well, councilors, a motion has been made and properly seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Thank you. It is approved.
Item number 9, ordered that the council authorize an appropriation of $151,407 to Mayor Personal Services, to support the addition of 2 positions to address the need for immigration services within the mayor's office. Invited Mayor Robert Sullivan, Troy Clarkson, Chief Financial Officer.
Good
Good evening.
Mr. Mayor.
Good evening, Madam Chair and members of the committee. First of all, let me start by saying thank you. Thank you for your professionalism during the budget. As you know, I sat up there. I know, and I said this to the clerk, and I'll say it to each and every one of you. I said it to the president. In all my years here as an elected official, this last budget was the best budget in terms of interaction between department heads and the council. All the councils, all 11, were truly engaged and have done a lot of due diligence. Now, the legislative bodies, you know, have the ability to cut, and so I came up with an idea that I thought was a rightful idea. I articulated during my State of the City. I articulated to each and every one of you when I came back from my trip in December with Bridgewater State to Cabo Verde. I truly felt that a standalone department here in the city of Brockton to help all the immigrants that come to the city of Brockton was the right thing. But I also understand the checks and balances, and the council cut that money, and I can understand why, and I appreciate that. But I also understand that the art of compromise and collaboration is how we have been working since I've been mayor of the city of Brockton. I want to thank former mayor and councilor at large Moses Rodriguez, who had suggested to me that perhaps a position should be in the mayor's office, a director of immigration services, much like I just mentioned Jasmine Bradshaw. She's the Director of Social Services. Again, it was Corin Cappiello under Mayor Carpenter. It's been other individuals. Why I think it's extremely important that we strongly consider this is every single person in this room, unless you're a Native American, is an immigrant. Generational, right? I'm generational from Ireland. But I'll tell you right now, Brockton has always been made up of people coming here for a better life, for the better life of their sons and daughters. And each and every one of you up here understand that. Why I think this position is needed, within the last year, I have met with the following people. I've met with the Consul General of Haiti, of Greece, of Turkey, of Angola, of Cabo Verde, of Ireland, of Nigeria, of Italy. Just last Friday, I met with the Minister of Economics, Minister Santos from Cabo Verde, with Councilor at Large Rodriguez. Today, I met with the mayor of Mosteros on the island of Fogo, who we did a sister city agreement with last year, Mayor Vieira. And then later on, I met with State Representative David Vieira, not related, from Falmouth. And you might say, why did the mayor of Brockton meet with the state rep from the Cape? Well, they have their Cape Verdean Museum down in Falmouth. And as you all know, Brockton is the highest population of Cape Verdean residents and business owners, not just in New England, but in the nation. So when you talk about the big three, it's not Byrd, Parrish, and McHale. It's Brockton, Boston, New Bedford in terms of our wonderful Cape Verdean population. But this position, if it's accepted by the City Council, is not to help just Cape Verdean people or Haitian people or Irish people or Italian people. It's to help anybody. And it's important that we consider this position strongly. And we can all agree to disagree. Councilor Thompson and I have had some really good discussions, and Jeff didn't think it was a local initiative, and I truly respect that. But I think it really is needed, and I'll tell you why. This person, whoever he or she is, wouldn't just be working with the immigrant community, wouldn't just be working with the wonderful nonprofits, but would be working with the clergy, would be working with the schools, would be working with city departments here, be working with the 2 new grant writers that you just approved, and I thank you for that. And then there's some questions. Well, Sullivan already has enough administrative staff in the mayor's office, more staff than any other mayor. That's probably a fact, but we've never had 106,000 people in the city of Brockton until my administration. So I would tell you right now, and you all know me and I consider you friends, I wouldn't be standing here before you tonight if I didn't think that this was an extremely important position, one that I know will reap benefits for all of our immigrant community here currently in Brockton, but more importantly, those that are planning to come to the city of Brockton, come to the city of Champions to work, to raise their family, and to flourish in our community. So, again, I would respectfully ask you to consider this position. I believe this position would be appropriate. I do want to thank again Councilor Rodriguez. In the mayor's office, now, future mayors can decide otherwise, but I think that under my administration, and I don't plan to go anywhere in the near future, I think this is a position that's truly needed, probably has been needed for some time. And I feel that this person is going to make the city of Brockton a place that is not just welcoming and inclusive and respectful, but also streamlining the process, you know, working with our federal delegation as well, understanding how you get a green card, how do you get a work visa, how do you get a student visa to go to Massasoit or Bridgewater or Curry or Stonehill. So again, I would humbly ask for your consideration on this tonight. I really think it's a position that will make all of us proud once it gets up and running here in the city of Brockton, in City Hall, in the mayor's office. I'm here to answer any questions, and from a financial component, I know Troy sent you his memo relative to the dollar amount, which would be $106,917 for the director position, which mirrors the director position set by ordinance for other directors here at City Hall, and I want to thank you for doing that. We're starting to attract people, but also maintain people, because we are bringing the salaries up respectfully the way they should be. And then the admin position to help the director would be based on an admin 2 position, which is set at $44,490. So I'm here to answer any questions. And again, I thank you for your consideration, and I hope you'll support this endeavor. Thank you, Madam Chair.
You're welcome. Councilor Tavares.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor.
Hello, Councilor.
Yes, thank you for bringing this information. I think it's such a great. The meantime, I do have some question about this position. Because as we know, I know this is such a great, it's very important. Like we say, we have in Brockton, we have different people from different culture, from different country. It's very important. But my question is, we do have a lot of organization, kind of Asian organization, I mean, Cuban Association, Spanish one, like, tons of organization, because I've been through each of them. They do provide a lot of immigration service, all right, which is such a great. My question is, when you got this position, basically, what can you guys literally do? The person's going to be in charge. The person's going to be in charge literally of helping with the application and assist them to get the visa with the green card. It's going to be free service. Can you give us more details when you get that position? What can the person literally do inside? It's just for people out here, because I know I've been somebody, a situation can ask this question. Can you explain with a little definition details?
Yeah, great question, Councilor. Thank you. I mean, we have some wonderful nonprofit civic organization, the Cape Verdean Association, the Latin Women's Association, Haitian Community Partners, the Angolan Association, but not every immigrant community and person that comes to the city of Brockton has that ability. After the horrible economic and earthquake endeavors in Turkey, I went into Boston and met with the Consul General of Turkey. He knew Brockton very well. There's some Turkish residents here. But he said, what is the catalyst? What is going to help the Turkish business owners or residents? And I heard the same thing with the Irish Consul General. What is it exactly that the city of Brockton can do? And right now, when we have a lot of folks that are coming in, Cape Verdean folks, that speak Creole, they're dealing with Marcy in my office, and then we refer them to the Cape Verdean Association. The Haitian come in, they speak to Kevin Blaze and Joe Francois in my office. Again, we refer them to Marlene Amity at the Haitian Community Partners. What I think is missing, I think when we have young families coming to Brockton that don't understand what is needed to register for school, not just Brockton public schools, New Heights Charter School, the Catholic schools, the Voc Tech. So I don't think that there's any one specific endeavor that this person, whoever he or she is, would do. I think it's a multifaceted. I think it's also a liaison capacity where they are going to be working with the clergy. The clergy's reach is a lot more than mine and a lot more than the city council and school committee. But at the end of the day, I truly feel that there is a void right now, and that this would be able to create beneficial results, tangible results, but it's not going to happen overnight. And I also think there's going to be a learning curve. People have to understand exactly what it is. Someone I spoke to just today said, no way, no way, no way, Mayor, because we're going to get more immigrants staying at our hotels like they do in Taunton. And I respectfully disagree on that. Number one, I'm the mayor of all Brockton. You're the city councilors of all Brockton. So we have to help all people that live and work in the city of Brockton. We bought 72 flags here, and you might say, well, that's great, but why did you buy that? Because we've proven that there's at least 72 different nations connected to the city of Brockton. There's more than that. So really, Council, I think that this position is something that's going to be truly a helpful benefit. It's not going to take any money away from Cape Verdean Association or Haitian Community Partners. They're going to be looking at different endeavors, but the synergy would be working the same to help people.
Yeah, basically my understanding is going to be literally network, those organizations with the city, kind of like that.
Right.
As you mentioned right now, we do have a lot of people in Brockton, like elderly, young moms. They don't have no place to stay because you mentioned, I'm just going to mesh that right now. I'm dealing with that a lot, as you can see, like if you go through fire bills and DTA. They've been so struggle, not have a place to place those single parents or old elderly. They literally send them to Altoboro, Millaboro, a little far from Brockton, which I think is so not fair. I think it's something you totally need to look at close and little approach to them, see how can we partner with them and how can we collaborate it instead of we send those people away from and, leave them in the community and until we find a place to place them. Because I think it's not fair as a mayor, as a city councilor, right? We're here because we are here to represent them. We should be more close to advocate for them and leave them to stay here, not send them away. And thank you so much. I think that we're going to be great. I definitely I agree. I think it's such a wonderful idea. I think together we can do better, and thank you.
Thank you,
That's all.
Councilor. And I do want to take a moment to thank you for your diplomatic endeavors. You and I met in Washington, and it's really a wonderful thing for you personally, but really for the city. So thank you for doing that, Councilor.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It's my pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Lally.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Hey, Councilor.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor. I just, have still some reluctance with this, I would say. We've had a lot of sort of rapid expansion in the city government. And this is just, this would put the mayor's office personnel line item over $1 million, just personnel. I definitely would agree that it is the largest the office has ever been. And so part of me really wonders, why couldn't, if the office is so big, why can't someone find the people within the office to already, make this kind of endeavor? Also, I know that there was discussion with some of the councilors when the ordinance was proposed to take the office of 3 and instead offer up 1 person for the mayor's office. But this is an appropriation for 2 people.
Yep.
You've had a lot of conversations with, diplomats and dignitaries, and that's well and good, but I'm, my personal experience, I'm talking with my constituency, which does include quite a few immigrants. They have, questions about the usefulness of this kind of a position at a local level. At a state and federal level, these positions are invaluable, and at the local level, we have a lot of groups that are already really helping to, to cover this ground. Additionally, I think that, there was conversation about, the associations and the churches and things like that. One of the things that I believe it was Mayor Rodriguez at the time did was he sought to put all of these groups in one room and improve their coordination with each other. Instead of 2, community breakfasts for homeless people that both happen on a Wednesday, what if you did one on a Wednesday, one on a Friday, something like that, made it so these services could be more effective in their help. I think that would probably help cover a lot more ground. I just, the position, it's a promising idea, but I just don't think at this level at this time I'm not sure of its feasibility. So I would really like, and I think a lot of my colleagues would appreciate more time to vet this out or to explore it. So that's all I would really have, but I'd just say to Madam Chair, when the list of speakers is done, I would like to make the motion to table.
Someone else?
Thank you.
Yeah, no, I'd like to respond to some of those. First of all, Council, I don't know who told you that, because I had a meeting with Moses Rodriguez, and I said that if we do a director, we would need an admin support staff, and that was witnessed by Troy Clarkson and City Merrill. So I think you have some skewed information there. In terms of the rapid expansion, the city is in a renaissance. We've never seen expansion ever. And in the mayor's office, the folks are coming in every single day. So we can agree to disagree on a local versus state, and I respect the state delegation, the state folks, and the federal folks, but the city of Brockton is a local municipality here in the Commonwealth, and those are the folks that need the assistance by us on a local level, in my humble opinion.
Thank you. Councillor D'Agostino.
So thank you for being here. I appreciate you coming and obviously explaining and why this is something you want us to do. I guess one of the things that I struggle with is that this includes an admin for a position that doesn't exist, a person we haven't hired yet. If this was for the director only, I would personally, I can't speak for others, but I would be much more comfortable with it. And I guess I'm struggling with, why are we hiring an admin for a position and a person that doesn't exist yet? We don't even know what the work volume will be like. It'd be different if you hired the director and came in and said, look, this is all the activity they've had, she or he is slammed, and this admin would allow this person to be able to do all these things they can't get to right now, right? So I guess it's the fact that it's the admin with it that I'm having a bit of trouble with. And I'll also add that when we were doing the budget, there were some folks that came to talk to us about the budget, and they talked about schools, they talked about support for homelessness. I've talked to people who want to see more in traffic enforcement and safety, a concern about safety. We've had some incidents recently that are.
We had a major one today, Councilor. that I
Absolutely.
notified you. That was major, yes.
Yeah, we've had, so safety is top of mind for folks I've spoken to. I got to tell you, I haven't had a phone call from a constituent yet urging me to support this. But these other things are things that they're concerned about, that they're calling about. So I guess that's why I'm having trouble with this, and certainly with two positions being a part of it. So.
Yeah, no, and I respect that, and ultimately, the 11 folks up here can decide if it's going to be a go or a no. And I can live with it either way, Councilor, but I can tell you that I believe it's needed. I believe that whoever is hired in the director's position, if it passes, is going to be inundated. I know that to be true because I see folks coming into my office every single day. I also think that the admin staff would not be hired until the director is hired. We would never put the cart before the horse, as was stated during the budget. But I think at the end of the day, ultimately, either we want to do something that's going to help people coming to the city of Brockton, to help them understand really what benefits Brockton have, what offerings Brockton has. But if the legislative body decides to go in a different direction, listen, I can live with that as well. You know, all I can do is advocate for what I think is needed, but we can, we can figure out what truly is going to happen. In terms of the other endeavors, we're addressing those as well. I would ask any of you to file a resolve to have myself and Chief Brenda Perez come to talk about the ATV mini bikes team that we have right now, the fireworks team, anything. Because at the end of the day, the information for all of our constituencies in wards 1 through 7 that are my constituencies as well, they need the information, and we're all on the same team.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Councilor.
Councilor Farwell.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Sometimes I can see where things are going, and the one thing I don't want to do is table this, with due respect to my colleague from Ward 6. I'd like to suggest a compromise, councilors, and that is that we approve 106-917, but we do not approve the admin position. Let the person be hired, let them get to work, let them work with the mayor, and let whoever he or she is come back to us and tell us we're all right, we can share admin staff in the mayor's office, or we can't. Because, 32, 33 years ago, when I was mayor, this city was very different. You cannot look at Brockton today and not realize that we have so many families coming into the city from literally all over the world, not just Cabo Verde or elsewhere. And they bring with them issues for which they need help. It might be someone in the family who needs addiction treatment. It might be someone in the family who is the victim of domestic violence. It might be someone who needs help locating a pediatric physician for their child because they've never lived in this area. And it seems to me leadership does start at the top. In local government, leadership should start at the top, and the top is the mayor. So the mayor is coming in and he's saying, look, for this year, because remember, we don't have to approve this every year. We can cut it next year if we don't think it's working. For this year, I believe this is what we should do to help the people who are moving into this city, who are immigrants, or who just need help with city services, and I'd like to have a person on staff to do that. And I don't have a problem with that. I think that is a perfectly reasonable executive-type decision and recommendation to make. But I am also mindful that we don't want to throw money away for admin staff because we don't know what the administrative burden will be in that person. So I'd like to make a motion that the order be reduced from $151,407 to $106,917.
Second. Councilors, a motion has been made and properly seconded. On the motion, Councilor Rodriguez.
Well, I wanted to say something before even the motion, so I'm I'm asking for a little, since I think I was the next one to speak anyways. Wasn't I the next one to say something? Well, Mr. Mayor, thank you for putting this effort forward. And the thing that's bothering me a little bit, and I do agree, because we talked about the one position and have it be a position that's overseen by the mayor to help validate the efforts of immigrants in the community. But one of the things that bothers me when I come to this council is the fact that we tend to marginalize, or we tend to minimize the struggles that the immigrant communities go through. Because my great-grandparents came and they were able to swim uphill and they climbed the Empire State Building on one bounce and all that other stuff. It doesn't mean that my grandparents are doing the same thing. And the world is a little different today than it was years and years ago. I've said it in this council here when we were talking about some issues that have to do with the immigrant population. We had counselors who basically said, well, why don't these undocumented individuals just apply for a green card? Well, you know what? There is no such thing. No one applies for a green card. Either you get a green card or you don't have a green card. You don't apply for a green card. We've also had, why wouldn't they file an application so they can become legalized? Again, there is no such thing, because if that was such a thing, people would apply to become legal. You have two ways of legalizing, either through a petition process or you marry an American citizen or somebody that can actually give you a green card. The rest of it comes through worker visas and some of these other visas that exist. But as far as the average undocumented individual in this community, there is no pathway to say, yeah, next week I'm going to apply for citizenship, I'm going to apply for a green card, because there is no such thing. So I don't want us to sit here thinking that, we're just going to minimize the sacrifices that more than half of the population of the city are going through. For the folks that still think that this is the 1960s, Brockton, wake up. This is 2023. And Brockton is not 1960, and it will never be Brockton 1960. It has changed. So it's up to us in government to go along with the changes. Reasonably, but go along with the changes. Because just because we didn't get calls from Joe Immigrant to say, please support this, it doesn't mean that I didn't get the calls, or I don't see the struggles and the sacrifices that people go through. I see it every day. In order for you to become a U.S. citizen in this country, you got to pass a test that 45% of the senior class at Harvard University, when it was first introduced, couldn't pass. So you're asking my aunt, my uncle, or whatever to pass a test that Harvard students couldn't pass in order for them to become citizens, in order to be able to vote as American citizens in this country. So the struggles exist. And one of the things that we have never had in this city, we have never showed the population or the people around that this is a city of immigrants. I am now at St. Edith's Stein, which is known as the Cape Verdean Church, but it was the Irish church prior to that. The Polish church doesn't exist anymore, but it's now part of St. Edith's Stein. The French church down here is not a Haitian church. We had a Swedish church on the south side that's no longer a church. Why do we have all those churches if there were no issues in the community? Because there were issues with the immigrant population. So I think it's important for us to understand that struggles still continue. The same struggles that our folks had, that your folks had back in the days, my folks are having it now. So I think it's important for us to change with the times, because if we don't do that, we're going to continue to have our heads stuck in the sand and not seeing what goes around us. Do I agree that perhaps you should go with one position? Absolutely. We should have that one position. I am not sure that we can actually cut that here, since this is an order, that it has to be done in the council, because it was introduced in the council. I don't think the committee has the power to cut an order that came to us, because if we cut it, it doesn't dictate exactly what happens. So I think that's one of the reasons why I think we have to either table it or postpone it or do something with it until the order is changed to go along with the wishes of this council. But I want to make sure that, you know, and I'm not afraid of saying it, and I don't care if I don't get a single vote at election time. If my fellow Brocktonians who are of the different race, a different color, speak a different language or whatever, don't see the fact that there are real struggles in the streets of this city with all these immigrants, new immigrants that we have now, that I see on a daily basis, then you know what? You need to have a reality check because you're not living in this city. You're not traveling the streets in this city, and perhaps we ought to do a little bit more of that and not just stay in our own side of the city in the sense, travel around, get to see what's going on throughout the city because struggles exist. And the only way we can shed some light onto the struggle is for the administration of this city to have a position that helps these nonprofits, these community-based organizations validate the need that we actually have in this city. You know, I mentioned this today, I think to you, at least to Troy. We have a Massachusetts Office of Refugee and Immigrants, a state office at the State House. Do you know that we don't have a single program that state runs in, that department runs in this city? And it's the Office of Refugee and Immigrants. So if us locally, we don't do something about this to bring some attention to this, well, the state isn't doing it. So we have to take the initial step, no matter how we look at it, to make sure that those struggles are brought forward, that English as a second language class is talked about on a regular basis, that citizenship preparation class is talked about on a regular basis, because we can't do it alone as nonprofit organizations because we don't have the power or the weight of the city behind us to do this. So it's important for us to do that in order for us to be able to do that stuff. So that's why I'm going to sit here and was I in favor of creating a department? No, because I don't think that department, if we created a department, it would have the impact that it would have if that position came from the mayor's office. And I mentioned that to you.
Did you articulate?
So I also think that by not doing anything on this, again, we're playing ostrich. You know, let's stick our heads in the sand in hopes that they go away. I mean, you hear this all the time when people say, you know, we have 11 million immigrants, illegal immigrants in this country. We should all deport them. Yeah, you know, 20 years ago we were talking about 11 million illegals in this country. Did we deport them? The answer is no. And they're not going anywhere. So either we learn to live with the situation that we have now, do what we can to better the lives of people in this community, or continue to hide, you know, to hide our heads in the sand in hopes that the problem will go away. And it's not going away. So, Mr. Clerk, can we do that or can we not?
Yes, you can. You can make the motion to reduce the appropriation here, and then at the it would be recommended out that way, and at the full council, you vote to confirm the amendment, and then you have a final vote. So yes, you can make that. That amendment is in order.
Okay, so the motion was made, and it was second, right?
Well, I still have people who don't want to speak.
Okay. No, I'm saying that's
But
what it
yes,
was.
the order is on the floor right now.
Okay.
Okay. Councilor Minichiello. Thank you.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor.
Good evening.
I think everyone makes a very good point that has spoken tonight. With respect to what fellow Councilor Moses Rodriguez said, I agree wholeheartedly. With respect to what Councilor D'Agostino said, I agree wholeheartedly. I get calls all the time. Our parks aren't as nice as other surrounding communities, not because our departments don't work hard, because our departments need help. They need more people to keep those parks and those baseball fields to the level of other places around us. The streets, we have a lot of streets that need some TLC, no doubt about it. All of those quality of life issues that Brocktonians see, and it's not Brocktonians of a certain makeup. It's all Brocktonians that complain about the streets and the potholes and all that. Everyone does. The schools, people telling me it's a shame that they're laying off all those teachers. It's a shame. Everyone in this community, I think, needs a little boost in terms of their budgets because of uncontrollable costs and expenses. And I think that we all appreciate what you're saying in terms of we're all a nation of immigrants. This is a city of immigrants. Absolutely. I was fortunate to meet my great-grandmother and great-grandfather on my mother's side, and who came here, Sabato Sacco and Florinda Sacco. And my uncles came with my great-grandmother, who I, again, met. when my grandfather, called for them and said, hey, I have a place now to stay, they were separated for 2.5 years before they saw each other again. And the family was reunited. On my father's side, the same thing. My parents, my grandfather, I met him, thank goodness. He was a great guy, worked for the railroads in Boston. Called for my grandmother. A couple of years later, she came. So I think so many of us are sympathetic to immigrants, absolutely. But we're also sympathetic to the calls about, the day-to-day quality of life stuff. I mean, we all know what they are. I'm not going to list them all because we all know what they are. And again, like I said, it's not because the departments aren't working hard. They just need more in their budgets to be able to do that job like the surrounding communities. I supported a one-position situation in your office. I'd like to be open to what you're saying because I do agree with Councilor Rodriguez. There are people here that we can make the quality of life for everyone by helping people, and that goes. And to me, that expands to the day-to-day Brocktonian. There are people here that are here and they're not going anywhere. Just like Councilor Rodriguez says, these are the people that want to sit there and say, get rid of them or this and that. That's not who we are in Brockton, first of all, and that's not the way this country is going to be operating. That's right. So I respect what you're saying. I respect what my colleagues are saying. I'm in favor of a one position. Let's feel it out. Let's see how it goes. But I'm also in favor of giving these other departments, the monies they need to make the ball fields better and the streets better and all that stuff too. And certainly the schools right now that are gasping for air because of, the onslaught of charter schools and all the different options. And people are walking with their tuition money, and they're taking it out of the city. So there's, if there was money to burn, I'd say, hey, let's do what we can do to make something, the best that's ever been. That's who we are in Brockton. We want to be the best. We grew up in a city where we were the best, and we are the best, and we still are. But we just need to understand that there's a limited amount of money, and we need to spend it wisely. And I think that a one position go at this is the reasonable position in light of all the other issues that the city is facing.
Yeah, and I'm fine with that, councilors. I mean, I sat up where you are for 14 years, so I understand compromise, and, I didn't always get along with other mayors. All of you have gotten along well with me. I mean, we are in this together. I mean that. And so I'm fine with that, to see if it succeeds, and if it doesn't succeed, the council cuts it next year. I get it. But I think if we don't invest $106,000, we're going to be talking about this again next year, and then the next mayor will be talking about it, and the next council will be talking about it. So I'm fine with that. I just think at the end of the day, we have to do something that's going to help all Brocktonians because, as my councilor from Ward 1 said, we are a great city, and we're a great city because of who lives here and who works here.
Absolutely.
So thank you, councilor.
I'm all set. Thank you.
Councilor Thompson.
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman, and good evening, Mr. Mayor. I think we're having a good conversation here. I think the debate is a necessary one, and I'm glad to listen to everybody's position. I think I've made my position known to you in our previous conversations, and I did speak about this during the budget. And so, I mean, ultimately, I want to do what's in the best interests of the residents of Ward 5. I think I agree with a lot of my councilors regarding discussing this being a one-person position out of the mayor's office and essentially kind of see where it develops from there. I'm probably one of a few city councilors that deal with immigrant issues every single day. And, some of their stories break my heart. And I'll have people in front of me and, essentially they could be Albert Einstein. But if they're not married to a U.S. citizen, have a parent who's a U.S. citizen or a child over the age of 21 who's a U.S. citizen, it's sorry, Albert, you have to go. And that's an issue with our federal law. And so that's not going to be dealt with at the local level. Brockton, the immigrant community in Brockton is a lively one, and they want exactly what all of us want here is a better future. And sometimes they have to escape hell to realize that future. And so I have no problem with any immigrant, whether they're legal or illegal, I see every single person as a human being, and I deal with them individually as a human being every single day. So I don't like to deal with people in groups and demonize any group of people. But I think the argument being made that, you know, as a city, we do not have infinite resources. We have finite resources, and I think as the board members of this, business of Brockton, we have to make sure that those finite resources are being directed in the best way possible to best serve our constituents. And so we've kind of been having some dual track, right? So originally when you proposed this was going to be a separate department with 3 personnel. And I know there was an ordinance. Did we refer an ordinance? I believe we've referred an ordinance to the ordinance committee within that context. So I don't know how that's going to, obviously a lot of that's going to do with what we kind of accomplish here today.
I think that would die, Counselor, because a mayor's position, anybody that works in the mayor's office would not be an ordinance position.
Okay.
It's at the will of the mayor. So whatever happens tonight, what was ordinance would die. You'd kill it in committee.
Okay. So then that brings me to this point. We're creating a new position. And I think in my budget discussion, I said if we did create this position, I think it's important that we have safeguards, a data collection, because ultimately from your description of the position, it sounds like it's a referral, someone who's going to listen, meet with or listen to or sit down with different members of our community and then try to refer them out to the best organization possible to address their needs. So,
not necessarily, though, Counselor. I think it would depend on what the issue is. There are things that would be resolved here at City Hall. I met a gentleman just outside today. He wanted to know how to register to vote. I said, go up to the second floor, go to an election. So I think there are some certain things that would indeed be referred out. If someone needed a primary care physician, you go to neighborhood health center. But I concur, a percentage would be sent out. But I'm pretty metrics driven. I'm data driven. So much like the council's allowance of a new position for diversity, equity, inclusion, right? Amir Phillips, for the DEI director position out of HR. He's doing that right now. It's tangible. It has to be proven. The results have to be shown. And if they're not, the position's not worth it. He's doing a phenomenal job. I suspect the same person, whoever he or she is, if it passes, would have to do that because you would want, updates, quarterly updates, whatever, with metrics.
Well, and that's why, and that brings me to this, Mr. Mayor. I think I'd be much more comfortable at this point to postpone this matter so that we can have those discussions. I think to have a one-person member out of your office is reasonable. For that person to make $106,000, I think.
That's what the director positions pay counts under the ordinance.
Well, I don't necessarily believe this maybe rise to the level of a director position. I mean, that's my opinion. $106,000 for somebody whose job at this point is amorphous. We haven't written what their job description is. We haven't, and I think that's where we should start. What is this person going to do? What are their qualifications? What's the job description? In some ways, we're putting the cart before the horse by allocating money for a position that we essentially don't really know what they're going to do. And I think we should start there. Let's write the job description. Let's as a maybe this does, I mean, you're right, it doesn't go to ordinance, but I think working together, maybe we can put something together where we write a job description and then really have a conversation. Is this a director level position? We would have to, once we understand what this person is going to do, then we can have a discussion. Wow, there's a lot of responsibilities here. We're asking them to do A, B, C, D through F, or G or whatever. And okay, wow, that's a lot. That may require a director level position. It may not. And so I think we have a lot more discussing to do. And I think whatever in that discussion, we should add a metrics, a metrics component. How many people are they serving? Where are we directing the people? I think we should put it in to the discussion, or in the order itself, these specific metrics that we can collect, so that when we're all sitting back here again next year during budget season, we have something. Is this a position that is effective, or is this a position in which we thought it was a great idea, but it really doesn't, there's really no bang for the buck. We believe it could maybe be done, just through a regular referral with an existing member, or I don't know. But I think I'm not ready right now to write a check for $106,000 for a position that I think is needed, but that has not been defined yet. And so I would ask that we work with you, Mr. Mayor, put that information together, and then I think we can maybe justify it to our constituents that this is what this person's going to be doing, this is how much they're going to make, and this is why we need it. I just don't think we have that yet, and so it's my belief that we should start there.
I appreciate that, Council, but I think if we look at past practice here in the city of Brockton with previous mayors, previous city councilors, two good examples. Under my administration, I created a position that never existed before, government affairs. As soon as I became mayor, I looked at what the city of Boston and the city of Fitchburg and Haverhill, it doesn't exist in Brockton, so I created it. There was a leap of faith in this council, and they accepted that. We didn't have a job description at the point. We just said this is needed for a liaison with our state and local and government officials in Washington, and the proof is in the pudding. A previous mayor created director of social services. City Council approved that as well. So I hear what you're saying. I think that there is a definite need, but I don't think a job description would be created for us, because what would happen is, if it's agreed to by this body, we then would have to work with the Human Resources Department to come up with that description and do the whole process of interviews and screening in the process. But I mean, I have no problem whatsoever to have a metrics-driven data. I think that's one thing the CFO and I kind of relish. I mean, proof is in the pudding. It's not just a saying, you have to prove it. So thank you, Council.
And just a response, you're talking about constituent services and government liaisons. Those are positions that affect every single resident of our city. You're talking about a specific section of the city. And so, I mean, our immigrant community, right? So this is a job for a specific section or subsection of our city. And so I think, when we're talking about, does it make sense to have a liaison between our government and the state and federal government? Of course it does. We're a federalist, we're a federalist system. We should have somebody in that role. Constituent services, they deal with everybody. We definitely need somebody in that role. And I think John does a great job in that role. I just think this is kind of, as you've heard in this discussion, is it even needed? Okay, I mean, some people think it is, some people think it isn't, and so, I mean, that's the discussion we're having here today. But I think the order itself should have a little more definition of what we're trying to accomplish here. And so I'm one person, that's my opinion, and so it is my opinion that we should postpone this matter, have further conversations with your office, and kind of delve into the detail a little bit. But thank you, Mr. Mayor. I appreciate your time today.
Appreciate it, Councilor.
Is there anyone who hasn't spoken who would like to speak? Okay, before I go to people who've already spoken. All right, I'm just going to very briefly say, in this role as president of the council, I spend a lot of time hanging around in the mayor's waiting room. He's a busy guy, and he's often delayed in starting our meetings. I said that diplomatically, didn't I?
You did, Council President, you did.
And I'm absolutely floored in my several times there a week at the number of people who come in asking his staff for all kinds of information and all kinds of help. Because when you come to a new community and you want to live there, what do? You go to the head, you go to the boss, right? You go to the person who's in charge, which is the mayor. And people don't call me usually with immigration issues. I find out about them through helping somebody else. But they go to the mayor's office, and I think he's in the best position to know what kind of services we need to provide to people coming to be residents of the community. I'm fine with the compromise to go with one person, but I really think hard about what we're doing here. I think this role serves all community members and not just people who are immigrants, because all of us are impacted by new residents who come into our community in one way or another as we drive our streets, as we shop at the store, as we go to different offices. We're all affected and impacted. And I think it would be wonderful to have a person who would be the person to explain to people, to create a guide in several languages. This is where you go for this information. This is where you go for that information. Let me explain to you that you can't have an open fire in the backyard while you're playing soccer at 11:30 on a Sunday night. It's these kinds of things that people need to learn, and there is a gap in them learning it. They're not getting it from the clergy. They're not getting it from other nonprofits. I think this is something that will be very well received by our residents. So, with that being said, Councilor Tavares. Yes.
Thank you, Councilor.
Yes, actually, I am totally agree with everyone, and then as well, I just want to answer my colleague. Just give me a second, quick. What? Yes. All right, I said I'm also, yes, that's okay. I hear everyone, and then also I agree with everyone. But the meantime, we have a conversation, I believe, 3 weeks ago about this, and I'm totally was very clear, understand exactly what you try to do, and you make it very with a specific definition and details, and what the job is going to be performed, which I'm very 100% agree, because I know my colleague just say you only get visa or green card to marry or petition. Not necessarily. I am notaries as well. And I'm literally going to talk for Ward 2, which where most has a population, Asian, Cape Verdean. I'm dealing with that every day. I deal with immigration every day. I used to work with the Councilor Mendes when she was counselor. We totally work. She worked as a lawyer. I work as a notary, and does all the paperwork for the people. We busy every single day. It's very sad. It's a lot of information which a community does not know. You can get the document through the employment. For example, any company make it 1 million. You can literally apply for the document for those people and document to work for you, right? I got it right here. We got another one, F1. You guys can look through F1. It's a visa for people, illegal people doesn't have Social Security. They can apply and go to school and get the documents as well. It's a lot of ways you can get the documents people does not know. And then the meantime, we have another way. We have kids under 21. They don't have parents here. We deal with that a lot. That's why they get in trouble most of the time, because they don't have nobody to advocate for them. They get in trouble, or sometimes they get deported. They can get the green card 10 years. I think I'm going to be support this, because I think if you create that, you just say exactly what you're saying it. I think even one person is not going to be enough, because you don't want to hire one person to kind of deal with the whole Brockton population. The reason I'm saying that, because when that Dalton was doing a business consultant, she was overburned herself, which I have the conversation many times with the Mr. May, because all the business owner was depend on Adelcia, because sometimes they couldn't even do the application because they don't understand how to do it. And then Adelcia was called 24 seconds to do that. I go business through business. Sometimes complain about Adelcia, but not necessarily I got a advocate for Adelcia. Adelcia is the only person. I think if you literally want to do these things, I'm 100% going to be support, but cannot be one person. Person literally qualified, knows how to do with immigration paperwork. For example, any new kids coming in without parents want to go to school. They can go to school, but they know how to go to school. You already have someone in place qualified how to assist our kids with F1 application. And then totally have someone literally want to work. They don't have documents. Well, you have someone already qualified, have information how to help those person guided to. Not even necessarily. We're not even talking about immigration, visa, stuff like that. We just mentioned. I'm dealing with the people as we talk right now. I have 3 people try to bring them in the shelter. I deal with this every day. I was sick literally kind of month, because I'm overborn, except Michelle Dubois, most of the time, and Councilor Rodriguez, he knows, even sometimes I feel like so much, Councilor Teixeira. And then Michelle Dubois, a couple of days, she helped me 3 people, because I said, Michelle, I'm done. I feel like I'm literally overborn because it's too much for me. And Councilor Maine, actually, she's in, we still work on this process. And then I think that is going to be such a great, if you create that, like Mr. President said, somebody come directly, because I worked as a code enforcement before, when the mayor, Bill Carpenter was alive, everybody go to the city asking for a lot of information, because I've been in the system before. I know what's going on. I think that position is necessarily. And then one person, I'm not agree with one person. Because if you hire one person, they cannot do this job because it's too much. Because if all the population knows you provide those kind of type of information, they can't do it. It's going to be overwhelmed, like I said, with Adelcia. And then that's why a lot of business couldn't get the grant, because she couldn't do so much. And then I think it's necessarily, if we're all going to support this, or we should support or not support, but we need to create, like, job definition, people literally qualify, people knows all the community, and people with the professional customer service. Because sometimes we don't have good customer service, to be honest, because I get tons of complaints. And then we need that. That's important. Communication. Communication is the key. And then send the letter out. Hey, this is what we're going to be doing now. No one will have this position. If you ever feel anyone literally needed to kind of ask information, we provide all the information. Now work with the community. Now work with all those organizations. Say, hey, let's partner, do this together. If you know someone is very good with the doing immigration paperwork, you should have them be involved. Someone who's very good at doing F1 paperwork, get them be partner. Then together we can do better. But I'm not agree with one person. And I'm agree with if you literally want to do this, I think we should have put the money together and literally try for 1 year. After the year, let's do survey, see how many people have been served, and then what's going on. Doesn't even necessarily only immigration, like people doesn't even have a place to stay. Tomorrow I'm going to go to DTA because I have 3 people, elderly. The house get burned now. They don't have no place to go. The insurance didn't even cover. Like, for example, I'm just going to throw this example. South Street. That person actually, I literally sometimes I got to bring a person to my house to sleep over. I don't have a space, but I put them sleep on the floor until literally I find a place to put them. And then I'm so blessed I have DTA work very close with me. And then the one I just mentioned, because so much, they literally work very great to me. Because when the house get burned out, they don't have the coverage they have in place, and then get to the point that doesn't cover hotel, doesn't cover nothing. It's necessary to have someone literally to look into those things. If you don't go through the emergency, they knows, okay, this is not going to be covered, like let's change another one. I think I'm totally going to support that if you're literally going to develop this for everything in general for people, to educate people, to assist people with information. We need that in the community because Brockton, they keep on saying, okay, we have this, we have that, we have money, we have that. And the day, sometimes myself, I get the stress, sorry for my language, I say, this is bullshit. I got the very stressed out.
Thank you,
I got
Councilor
very burned out. I know. And then I want us to work together, do better for the community, have more communication, send the letter out here, partner with the people a little better knows, and then a lot of people suffer out here. And then I wish you can help me with those 2 people tomorrow. I'm going to bring to your office tomorrow for you to see it. And I hope I get the help.
Come bring them to me.
Send it way away from Brockton.
Yeah,
Bring them
to the mayor's office tomorrow, Council.
And then that's all I can say. I support that, but I'm not agree with one person. That's all I can say.
Thank you, Councilor Tavares. Councilor Lally.
Thank you, Madam Chair. All right, let me get myself together. Yeah, basically, I think to sort of go over a couple of things that I had mentioned earlier, we did talk about, the councilors talked about, and I know that Councilor Rodriguez did talk to you about the one person, and how basically what had come up was everyone sort of said, well, we have Jasmine Brashear, who does great work.
I couldn't hear you on that. I'm sorry. What did you say?
Jasmine,
okay.
In your office?
Yeah, I couldn't hear you.
Sorry.
Ms. Jasmine Brashear. Okay, I hear you now.
I moved away.
Yeah, these are 53-year-old ears. I couldn't hear you, Councilor.
53-year-old ears, and I'm moving around as I talk, so I apologize. Basically, we said, well, why are we trying to create an entire department when we could mirror Jasmine's position? And I think that's what the initial, effort was for, and the agreement that we had heard was for one person. I think that a lot of folks have said a lot of stuff, and I think we're all pretty much on the same page. if this is something, the mayor's office is the mayor's office. The people in it serve at the pleasure of the mayor, and you basically get a, pot of money determined by the budget, and within it you can, exercise your executive power to manage it as you see fit.
Correct.
I don't think that there would be too much objection to a singular person. I think that was what was, just speaking for myself in the conversations I've had, the majority of the people I talked to did say, let's have one person out of the mayor's office. And that was discussed by you and the counselor and agreed upon. So I am I guess glad to hear that this is something that the order is something that can be cut in this meeting. I think that Councilor Farwell is right and that this definitely holds, merit to examine the cut. And it is something that we can revisit and that we can measure. And I do hope that, we can receive some kind of, quarterly update or something on that kind of measurement to, weigh it. But yeah, I would also just say that, as you referenced the $106,000 as something on par with what an ordinanced director would make. I don't really see how this could be a director. The position does not have subordinates. It would be a singular position similar to Jasmine's.
She's a director. She's director of social services.
Director of social services, okay.
Mayor Phillips is director of DEI.
Okay, but these are positions that, this isn't an ordinance determined director. This is something that the job title comes out of your office. I think that, $106,000 is what we try and match because that's what we would have for an ordinanced employee, but this is not an ordinanced employee.
But as I said during the budget, to keep it parity, the chief of staff is at the will of the council, as well as the mayor as well. But to keep it parity, I said this, and it's a record to reflect it. My pay raise for my chief of staff is in parity to other assistant directors. I just think it's fair and equitable. It'd be tough to attract someone that says,
I'm not gonna die on a hill for a couple of grand. we got a $500 million budget. I'm not dying on a couple of grand.
Yeah.
But I do think that it is worth just an examination, exploring the actual role and what, obviously, as you said, we would have to approve the money before the job went out and a description was posted, but we can have a rough idea of what that would be. I would propose, in the spirit of my colleague, Councilor Farwell, who proposed a compromise of his own, I would propose that, I'm fine, and I believe that, my colleagues are also fine supporting this measure with the cut, so it's only one position. I would like to see personally that if this is approved, we have 2 weeks before the council meeting, right, Madam Chair?
Yes.
2 weeks before the council meeting. If this with the cut is approved, so we move forward with one position, do you think it would be possible for the mayor's office or the personnel department or HR department to send us something before a final vote at council? And so we can see exactly, it's not the full formal posted job description, but to give us a clear black and white understanding of your visions for the position, which could help inform our vote. And if at that time we still have questions, we can postpone there. But this way we move the ball forward, we return to the original compromise that was made between councilors and the mayor's office. We don't waste any time.
yes.
Too late for that. Too late.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Councilor Farwell.
Okay, and Madam Chair, I realize that we're supposed to be focusing on the cut, but we've kind of morphed into the whole thing. Mr. Mayor, I'm suggesting this cut, not because I don't think administrative support's needed. I'm not trying to substitute my judgment for yours. I'm just looking for a compromise.
Oh, I agree with you. Listen,
we move forward.
I agree with you on that.
Number two, councilors, I really don't want to get into writing job descriptions for the mayor's staff. That has never really been traditionally done. The chief executive officer of the city manages his staff, decides on the titles, sets the compensation, and, you know, like the rest of us, he's going to run for re-election. If he's doing something wrong, he's going to get killed. So I give great deference to the mayor when he or she makes a decision. So I hope that the compromise is approved, and then I hope that it's moved favorably, and let's see how it works out. I think it's important to do it in this city. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor D'Agostino.
Sorry to go on with the second round.
This is fine.
We seem to have, and first of all, excuse me, I said during the budget if this was one person, I would support it. I said it earlier tonight. I'm going to support the amendment. Hopefully it passes because I think that's a reasonable ask, and it's a compromise. Just remember that the mayor in the budget asked for a separate department and 3 people. We said no. He asked for 2 people. I think if I'm reading the room right, and we'll find out shortly, we're going to say no to that. I think one's a pretty good compromise at this point. Just out of curiosity, because we got into the weeds on this, 2 questions. The other directors in your office, I'm not even going to get into ordinance director, not ordinance director, the other directors in your office, this 106, is that the starting salary?
Second, Councilor.
Sure.
Councilor, that 106 figure is based upon assistant directors, like the assistant HR, assistant auditors, assistant whatever the position is.
Okay.
So in terms of other directors here, again, I can just articulate what I said at the budget. What I would consider the assistant in the mayor's office is the chief of staff.
Right.
So that would be in parity to the chief of staff.
Okay. This is in parity to a chief of staff?
That's the value it would be, in my opinion.
Okay. This salary is in parity to
The assistant directors across the board for the city of Brockton.
assistant directors throughout various departments.
Departments at City Hall.
All right, so it's coming from somewhere. That's kind of what I wanted to get to. And I'm also just out of curiosity, because we kind of have gotten on to this topic a bit. If it wasn't a director, what is the salary of the next position down from that? I'm just curious.
I have to let Troy answer that one.
That's okay.
I don't know all the...
That's why you bring the money man with you.
He brings back with him tonight, though.
Uh-oh.
Good evening, Mr. Clarkson.
Good evening, Madam Chairman and members of the council. So the answer to that, Councilor, is different for the mayor's office versus the rest of the city, because as we've discussed tonight, the mayor has wide discretion for the salaries within his or her office. So in the current mayor's office, as he noted, he has established this chief of staff salary for purposes of both parity and transparency, aligned with the positions that he noted. So the chief of staff currently is in a salary lane that's similar to the assistant auditor, assistant treasurer, assistant HR director. The other positions in his office vary from, and I'm quoting this from memory, I don't have my budget before me, but I know some of you have them down below, so it's right there, or I can go grab it. But some of the other positions are in the neighborhood of $90,000 a year. But I think what I would say is that this proposed, first of all, this proposed position, the discretion is left to the mayor, the value that he places on that position, and having been intimately involved in these discussions with the mayor and with others in the city, the level of responsibility of this position, I would say, certainly rises from my professional observations to other people who operate within that salary band.
Okay. And maybe I should have asked it differently. What I really wanted to get to is, because we got into this 106, and is it too much? And so it's about a $16,000 difference, it sounds like, ballpark, from where, if it wasn't a director, the person might likely be. I mean, I'm just trying to get to, like, how much How much money are we really talking about here, difference-wise in the title of the position?
Yes, but I would say, again, that I would suggest that you look at what the responsibilities are of other people in the city who exist in that salary band and what their level of responsibility is, and ask the question, does that salary, despite the fact that it's solely within the discretion of the mayor, but for purposes of discussion, does it make sense that someone with this level of responsibility would exist within that salary band? And I will tell you the answer is absolutely yes.
Okay.
And if I might, I know the question wasn't posed, but just a little latitude if possible. I just wanted to offer an observation to you because in my almost 5 years here, I think I've had the opportunity to observe the need for services. In my first year here, I said to you, and then just last month said to you, a budget is a policy document, and it speaks to the public about what the people who create the budget, the executive and the legislative, value. And when the mayor and I were in Cape Verde in December, we met with the United States ambassador to Cape Verde, so the top the United States federal official, and we asked him the question, what can we do? And he, a federal official, outlined the vital importance of just what the mayor is proposing. Because what he said is the process for people coming, not just from Cape Verde, but from virtually any nation to the United States, generally begins long before they make that trip. And the planning and the coordination begins long before. So the real value in having a position like this is it helps prepare people long before they come so that when they do come, they're set up with services and educational opportunities and vocational opportunities so that when they come here, they're able to be more engaged and more productive and are able to do things like get jobs and pay taxes. And so their ability to do that is actually directly linked to the types of things that the council was talking about tonight and the other demands on services. But when we have people that are able to come here and be engaged immediately or soon after their arrival, then we truly all benefit. And I think it was, from my observation of how this process unfolded, I think it was important to add that. The funding source, of course, is also important. We haven't talked about that, but I thought it was important to just offer the reminder, as I did in the email that I sent to you over the weekend. The term in the order for this was raise and appropriate, and that is because we haven't set the tax rate. So this money, if it's approved, will be part of the overall budget, but it's part of the raise and appropriate, the money we will raise to support next year's budget. And because of the cuts that you made during the budget process, there are more than sufficient funds to support this appropriation.
Thank you.
All right. And I had a question for the chair, I guess through the chair, to the chair. You mentioned that when you were in the mayor's office, you had seen a lot of people and they had a lot of questions. I'm not there, so I'm going to have to go with what you said, but what I was curious when you were talking about that are the types of questions and information that you have observed people looking for, the kinds of things that you think this position would help with?
Yes, definitely.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Councilor Minicello.
Thank you. Mr. Mayor, I think that you are correct that the city needs a position like this. I think we have 11 quality of life liaisons in all of us up here, and we listen to what our constituents say they also need and what they also feel is of value. I find you to be a very sincere and open and honest person, so I'm going to have faith in you that you are going to tailor this position to be efficient and to benefit the city of Brockton. I just would caution that we do have a finite amount of resources, as has been pointed out, and that there are so many needs in the city. So when you are developing this position, please just keep that in mind, because there are many of our constituents who can point out, list 10 different things that they would like. And when we, like I said, we have basically quality of life liaisons for all of our constituents. I would love to be able to call and say, hey, Commissioner Hill, can you take care of this street? He does a great job. He'll tell me we can take care of X number of streets during this period of time, but we all know that there are plenty of streets more that are all deserving of it, but we can't do it all at once because we have a finite amount of resources. This position, I believe, will help the community. I do. I believe it will. And all I'm saying is, let's give it a go. Let's we have this dialogue is perfect. This is what government's all about, having an open and honest dialogue and vetting this situation and this position. So I have faith that it's going to be tailored and it's going to be a position that's needed and a position that will be focused on what you as the Chief Executive Officer feels it should be focused on. Again, just understand that an expansion of this position or department or more employees takes away from the many other needed issues in the city. And just, balance that, please, when you make your decisions. That's it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor.
Thank you. Councilor Rodriguez.
I hope we are going to end this discussion real soon because it's getting kind of tiring.
Third round.
It's getting kind of tiring, to be honest with you. Mr. Mayor, I have a suggestion for you, and I hope you take this. There are several members of this body who are immigrants. I think I said it the other day that I'm actually fresh off the boat, except that I came on a Boeing 747 instead of a boat. So we have a lot to offer this particular position. So I hope you will utilize some of us to help you in the development of this position as you go forward, to help to make sure that it does what it's supposed to do. And I hope you take that.
I think I'm beneficial to have 11 dedicated folks with 2 former mayors up here.
Yeah.
It's never happened before. And as you know, I'm a dual citizen, right? I'm an Irish citizen and an American citizen. So I hear what you're saying. I'd be a fool not to convey that and take that from you.
Yeah. But I'm also, as someone that actually, I think I kind of have a unique perspective at this because I worked for a mayor and have become mayor. Mm-hmm. So I see both sides of things in a way. One of my functions in the mayor's office is that I served as the mayor's liaison to cable TV. Cable TV, not everybody gets benefits from cable TV. I mean, it's specific to cable TV. Somebody who's the director of social services isn't necessarily taking care of, somebody in finance or some of the other things. So they have specific job descriptions. So I don't see that as a big to-do in this sense because, well, we don't have this person, we don't have that person, we don't have this group taken care of. But I think we're missing the point here because the same problems that we have with my neighbors complaining about another neighbor not following the rules is because that neighbor perhaps doesn't have the understanding of how things are done because we haven't put a great deal of effort into educating our community in terms of the do's and don'ts of our city or even our ordinances, because we pass a bunch of ordinances, but how often do we go on television, on the radio, and explain to the people something that we just passed that affects their lives? We don't do that. We just pass it and move on in hopes that something happens to it. I know that it's kind of, you hear about it all the time. When folks bring up the issues with Trump, he's been indicted for so many things. The first thing you hear some folks on the other side saying is, what about Biden? What about this? What about that? It's all this whataboutism. And the fact is that we're talking about an issue that affects a great deal of folks from this community. And this is the point that I think we're not getting. Brockton today is not Brockton of a few years ago. And the issues are, it's a lot harder now for people to become legalized than it was years ago. Mm-hmm. Where is the new Ellis Island so I can send the folks to it? It doesn't exist anymore. So people need to get off this wagon in terms of saying, well, we did all of this back then in how it is today. Well, things are different today. We can sit here and debate this for as long as we want to because yes, we have all these problems in the community, but it doesn't lessen the problems that these folks are having. And this is the key thing. It's not to lessen it. It's not to let's water it down. Why don't we make it so that it's admin one? Let's pay somebody who's a professional person, hopefully speaking a bunch of different languages. Why don't we pay them $39,000 and call it quits? Is that satisfying because all of a sudden it's $39,000? I don't think we ought to look at that. We ought to look into whether or not this person is going to be professional enough to liaison and do the work that they need to do with these various folks that come through this building and the various organizations that work in this city that deals with this kind of an issue. And that's why it has to have the weight of the mayor's office in a directorship. Because if it's, oh, by the way, this is the assistant, sub-assistant of sub-assistant, I don't think people out there, if a grant comes down a pipeline, oh, I'm calling from the mayor's office, I'm the clerk in the mayor's office that deals with this. Do you think it'll have that kind of an impact? It will not. That's why I think we got to look at it this way. Either we fund it the way it's supposed to be funded, or we don't fund it. Yep. I'm sick and tired of this watered-down system that we exist here, because you know what? Problems will continue to be in Brockton no matter how you look at it. Whether we have this position or not have this position, it's not going to happen. The $18 million that we're in the hole for the school department is not the reasons why we're here discussing this. That's not going to go away. So what? You save $100,000. Well, is it going to go to the school department? Absolutely not. Because that's not the reason why we lost $18 million. I think we got to be realistic and deal with the issue at hand. Either we create this or we don't create it. Yep. But I'm against watering it down. I'm against sitting here saying, well, my neighbors don't have this, my neighbors don't have that. You know what? My neighbors don't have it either. My neighbors who happen to be immigrants and don't understand a lick of English, they don't have it either. People said, well, what about this person does such a great job in city government? It doesn't work for the folks that I know that don't speak English. If they speak one language, and it might be English, what about if they're Spanish speaking? What about if they're Haitian Creole speaking or Cape Verdean Creole speaking? They're not really doing it. Somehow, some things are being done. So it's not like we're sitting here saying, I think I heard John from your office. John is not multilingual as far as I'm concerned. So if I send my grandmother to John, how is he going to work with my grandmother? Or should we deport her? Maybe we should just deport her. Is that how it's going to be? That's not what we need to do. We can't say, let's do two wrongs in hope of righting something. Two wrongs don't make a right here. This isn't math. Just because we don't have this, it doesn't mean we can't create something that might help some folks in this community.
Correct.
And we got to stop this. I've heard this, I've been here for 10 years, and I hear this all the time. Every time an issue comes up, well, this person doesn't have this, that person, okay, it's okay. So as long as that person doesn't have it, we're going to continue not doing it because we can't do something else. We can walk and chew gum at the same time, and I think it's time we do it. But again, either we fund it the way it's supposed to be funded, so they'll have the respect of a department that it actually has, of a directorship under the mayor, a person that goes directly to the mayor and bring those issues forward, or we shouldn't fund it. I'm against watering it down because that makes absolutely no sense. Because every time we water something like this down, it sends a message to the folks in this community. Work hard, pay your bills, but you're less than. You're less than. Because the city hall doesn't really care whether or not you speak or don't speak, as long as you continue to pay your bills. That's the way it's supposed to be. I don't think that's the intent of it. I have never been given a discount because I speak English with an accent. I pay my taxes like everybody else. So if I pay my taxes like everybody else, I should be treated the same as everybody else. And that's why I think, we ought to stop this discussion, move forward, put it to a vote. Those that are against it, vote against it. There's 11 of us, and there's this perception on this council that, well, I'm against this, because I'm against this, I'm going to, and it's the end. No, it's not. Put it to a vote. You have one vote, vote against it, move on. If it passes, it passes. If it doesn't, too bad, move on. Nick, turn the page and let's go on. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you.
Thank you, Council.
Councilor Azar.
Thank you, and hopefully I'm the last one to speak. So I'm round one, by the way. So I'm an immigrant, daughter of immigrants, married to an immigrant. We have filled out the paperwork. We've done it ourselves. I don't know if everybody realizes it takes a long time to get your papers. I know we petitioned for my husband's family in 13 years, and it's a pretty long time. But I have to tell you, Mayor, when you first mentioned this at your State of the City, I saw how excited you were about it, and I see where the discussions, where we've gotten with that. I wished it was easier. It sounds great, it sounds amazing, and I was ready to support it with with the positions. The only thing that concerns me, and I agree with all my colleagues, I'm not going to repeat everything they said, the only thing that concerns me is the description that you're going to, I don't care what the title is, but what the description and the qualifications of this person. Because this person will be making approximately $106,000. We have attorneys that have gone to school, law school, spent a lot of years, maybe, doing internships, and they're only at, I think, at 110 or 111. So I just want, my biggest concern is making sure we get somebody in this position that's going to be productive, that's going to be able to do what we want them to do, to really benefit the residents, whether they are here or they're petitioning for their family. However this description is going to end up, I just want it to be efficient and worth the $106,000 that the city will be paying this individual.
Yeah, and thank you, Councilor. Thank you for your support. I mean, we don't have to reinvent the wheel, right? The city of Boston already has a description. Now, Boston and Brockton are apples to oranges, but at the end of the day, it's about trying to help a segment of the population and business sector. So, we can look at some other municipalities in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts and beyond, because this exists across the country in certain states as well. So, we have to get a person who speaks multiple languages. I saw Moses say he speaks 5 languages. I speak English, I speak a little bit of Gaelic, but they're swears, and I speak a little Spanish. But I mean, at the end of the day, we need someone that's going to be able to be a multilinguist, but also someone that can multitask, a professional person that truly has the appetite, but more importantly, the drive to do what we're trying to do. And also, just to get back to Councilor Thompson, someone that is pretty good with metrics and data as well. So we wouldn't hire anybody at all, number one, if it wasn't the right person. That's why we have human resources, and we'll do, if it passes, we'll do the same thing we do for any hiring. We'll have a hiring committee, and we'll interview people, and we'll get the best. I also think the price point, as you all know, attracts certain people, right? $106,000 is a lot of dough. It's a lot of dough. But at the same time, often in a business, and that's what I say Brockton is, right? It's a business. We are a business. We're just in the people business. You have to pay for experience and expertise, and the lawyers get paid what the lawyers get paid. But I think that this person, whoever he or she is, will be the right fit for what we're trying to do, the intent of what we're trying to do.
Okay. Thank you,
Councilor.
And I hope this means we're going to vote, Madam President.
Okay. Well, at this time, I'm going to ask Clerk Cruz to read our motion.
The amendment on the floor is to strike $151,407 and insert in its place $106,917. Question is on the amendment.
And the question is on the amendment, and the motion was made and properly seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Okay, I've got one opposed. Thank you. It passes.
Now we need a motion to approve.
Motion to approve as amended.
Second.
All right, the motion's been made and properly seconded.
To recommend favorably, I think it should.
Recommend favorably,
yes. All in favor? Okay, opposed? Thank you, it passes. Thank you.
I want to thank you for running the meeting, but I truly want to just thank all of you. I mean that. I've been up there where a lot of mayors would storm out. We're all working together on this, and it was proven tonight. And debate and disagreement is fine. It's always respectful. But at the end of the day, we've got a job to do. So I just want to say thank you. Thank you, and we'll get to where we need to be. Have a good night. Thank you.
Thank you.
Item number 10, resolved. Be it resolved by the Brockton City Council to invite Rob May, Director of Planning and Economic Development for the City of Brockton, and area restaurateurs to come before the council to provide an update and discuss their vision of the Sycamore Grove project being proposed by the City of Brockton. Invited Rob May, Director of Planning and Economic Development, Joseph R. Angelo, owner Joe Angelo's, Chrisman Charlotte, owner Tamboo, Manuel De Silva, owner Prados Island Cuisine, Manuel Rodriguez, co-owner Cristal, Tony Rodriguez, co-owner Cristal.
Madam Chair, I'm not invited on this, but I also did ask Dan Pilata to appear. Dan lives in Rowe, Massachusetts. He drove about 2 hours and 15 minutes to come here. Again, Dan is the ARPA manager. Dan is working with Rob, but more importantly, he's working with all the business owners that have been invited. So he is here tonight, and I would respectfully ask that you would like to have him give some views on this as well, because he's been intimate on this endeavor. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Good evening, Mr. May.
Good evening, Madam Chair and councilors. I am pleased to be here and well, kind of, and to give you a briefing as to where we are. As the mayor said, we have brought Dan Pilata in to help manage this project as we go forward. Dan is the owner project manager for almost all of the ARPA projects that are moving through the city, and so he has a lot on his plate. But I do know that he has met with, at least spoken with several of the restaurant owners and property owners, and has worked with me to engage the design firm to start bringing the redevelopment back to life. So other than going through the procurement process and meeting with representatives or talking with representatives of the properties, we really don't have much to discuss this evening. Dan, would you like to add anything to that?
No, I just, if I may.
Yes, if you may.
Good evening, Mr. Pilata.
May I?
Nice to see you, sure.
Thank you, Madam President. We know this is a highly visible project, and we're trying to do it right. You know, we have met with the business community. They had a pretty good list of things that they'd like to see. Going through the files, it's clear we have a little more work to do. We've engaged the design firm to do some of that work, and when we have something worthy of bringing back to the council and to the business community, we'll bring it back. It's going to take us a little time, but we are working on it. I just didn't want to get into the sausage making with you guys, but there's a lot to this. There's a lot of parts and pieces to do it right and to try and accommodate all of the requests that we had.
Thank you. Councilor Azak?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good evening, Mr. Pilata, Mr. May. So from my understanding, you haven't met since the last time that, with the business owners, since the last time you were
We
here?
have not met with the business owners because we have been working with the designer to try and accommodate the business owners. As one of the things that I kind of got from the meeting with the business owners is they didn't want to be hauled out every time and not get a fruitful update. So I'm trying to give them a fruitful update. As part of that, you know, we had amendments to do to contracts and so on and so forth. And some of these things, parts and puzzle pieces, take a little time. We'll have something fruitful to show them shortly. I don't want to give you a date and a time in case we're off a little bit, but we are working hard on it.
No problem. So I was at that meeting when you were listening to them, which I thought was really great that they were being heard. Have you spoken to any of them out of meeting, or have you spoken? There's a number of them here this evening. Are they aware of where you're at? Have you spoken with them offline?
I have not.
You have not. Mr. May, has anybody spoken with the business owners? No? Okay, so I know some of them are here, Madam Chair. I'm sure I would like to hear from them as well at some point, just to make sure that, I mean, the goal of this and why the mayor put this all together is so that the business owners are being heard. So I just want to make sure that they're, you know, if they have any questions, that just so, because they are here this evening. Thank you. Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you, Madam Chair.
You're welcome. Let's see. Councilor Farwell.
Actually, I don't doubt the sincerity of Mr. May or Mr. Pilata moving forward on this, and I know it's important to my colleague from Ward 5, but when I get a letter indicating that the businesses want to form a Sycamore Grove Association because they're, I think, I'm not speaking for them, but I just got the impression they felt marginalized. So I too would like to hear from them, but I also would like to suggest to the council that we eventually recommend this back favorably to the council, and then have the council send it to the Economic Development Committee, so that we now get very involved in working with Mr. Pilata and Mr. May and with Councilor Thompson to make sure everyone's on the same page with information, progress, and that no one feels as though they're left out of what we're doing. We do not want to make people feel, especially the business community that's hung tough with us downtown for so many years, to feel like we're kind of moving forward and maybe they're an afterthought. So that would eventually be my recommendation, but I too would like to hear from any business owners.
Thank you. Councilor Rodriguez.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Council Fowell, you must have read my mind, because that's exactly what I was going to suggest, your latest point there, in terms of sending that to that newly created committee so we can kind of, dive into it in a sense and figure out exactly what it is. Because the businesses around that Sycamore are the folks that will be mostly affected by whatever decision we make. I might want something shiny that tickles my intuition or whatever it might be, but they're the ones who have to live with it. And I think it's important for us to recognize that fact. Let's drop our egos and drop the issues that we think we got to be the smartest person in the room all the time, in the sense, and look at it from a standpoint of those that will be highly affected by whatever decisions we make. So it's my wish and my hope that prior to the final product being put out there, the final design, that you would go back and work with the businesses to make sure that they feel comfortable enough with something that we're proposing. Because it's almost like, I go to your house and I say, I'm going to fix your front lawn. And you say to me, no, I don't want you to fix my front lawn. But I'm going to fix your front lawn because I know what you need. No, I don't need you to fix my front lawn. That's exactly what we're doing to their lawn or to their backyard. We want to make sure that whatever we're proposing is something that they can live with, because this sense of us knowing it all and thinking that we have the answers to everything doesn't really cut it, because most of us probably do not visit those businesses in the downtown area. I know I do, but most of us do not. And it's important for us to work with them, and as the councilor said earlier, they stuck with us. And they stuck with us, and we can't let them down, in the sense, because we're going to propose something that's going to be detrimental to their existence. If they're saying, don't fix it, don't fix it. They know it best. They're the business people down there. So I hope we take that into consideration. And once this committee that we created starts to kind of doing its thing, that we can kind of vet this thing out to make sure that everybody is involved in this process. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Councilor Texera.
No, I had a question. Thank you, Manager. I had a question for the owner of the business. I don't know, when they come up, I'll ask them a question.
You want to ask the
if they want to come up, now, I'll definitely.
Maybe you want them all to come up? Or just
No,
business owners, we invite
Business
you to the
owner.
podium at this time.
I'm up. You're welcome, thank you. My question is, have you been involved with the design, or the new design they propose?
We sent a letter requesting, suggesting what we would like. We really haven't had any progress over the last couple of months. Nothing's really happened. I know things take time, but it seems like everything's come to a standstill here.
Yeah, we know things takes time, but to get you guys involved, especially for business, the full business owner at the Sycamore, I think it's crucial that you guys are involved on the design, because I know it might come back to the business owner and say we're not happy with it. So what we do? We go back again. So we should get you guys, not we, but they should get you guys involved from the beginning with the design, because your idea and the other three business owners, it's not their idea. So if y'all put those ideas together, maybe we'll be able to accomplish that everybody will be on the same page and be happy.
Right, without, spending a ton of money and going forward with a plan that nobody's going to approve. I mean, I think we should be involved now before they come up with, this is how it's going to be or whatever. Just let us get involved and let's figure this out. Get in a room and we'll figure it out. That's what it takes. We need that kind of back and forth, and we're not getting it right now.
See, we definitely need to get those business owners involved in this project because, again, it's like Councilor Rodriguez said, I don't want you to come in, design my front lawn, but let me be involved, how you going to design, and, like I said, ideas from all the business owners, it's crucial, and they should take that into consideration and make sure that we're not going back and forth.
Yeah, we just got a set of prints, full set of prints of what was proposed in 2020. A hard copy of actual prints. And now this is 2023, and we were just given a copy of them. I mean, does it take 3 years to get us involved? I mean, I don't understand why those prints were even dropped off. I mean, if we're not going to go with them and we're not going to use them, why all of a sudden are they, coming and dropping them off? I don't understand.
All right. Maybe Ms. Valero wants to speak.
Valero, did you want to respond? Yes.
So he's correct. The drawings that I received, the same drawings he received, are quite old. As part of ARPA, one of the tasks that the mayor had asked me to do was to review the existing project and try to accommodate the requests that were made by the business community. And that's what we're in the process of doing. So when we come back with solutions to the questions that were presented to us, they will be presented to the business community. So it's not, there's no, we are listening, we're just not producing the work product fast enough for everyone who wants to run on this project. And this is not a project that can be run. It has to be walked. And the drawings, the renderings are not of sufficient quality that you could get a feel for what the design is. It needs a lot of work, and that's what we're trying to begin to do. I was asked by the mayor to look at it independently of what was done in the past, and I have. And unfortunately, I'm not going as fast as I think everybody in this room wants me to go, but I am going to do it correctly. This is one of 6 ARPA projects that we're on. 3 of them are out to bid. 1 is in the middle of bidding, and one is in design, like 2 other projects that are in design. So we are getting to the meat of the matter. I ask for your patience. We will get to it, and we will be meeting with the business community. I'm not going to call a meeting with the business community like the first meeting that I attended and have nothing to present to the business community and waste their time. I want to present to them solutions to what their questions are. And not all of their questions can be solved, but a good majority of them can be. And I think that if you just give us a little time to do what we have to do, I think everyone in this room is going to be happy. Just give us a little time. I'm not going to take 3 years, I promise.
That was my question.
I promise. Just give me a couple of months.
Yeah, that was going to be my question. What's the time frame before they get involved?
That's good.
Well,
Thank you, Madam Chair.
welcome.
Thank you guys very much. Anybody else going to talk?
Thank you, Madam Chair, and good evening, everyone. Sycamore Grove, it's an important project. It needs to be done correctly, so whatever time that takes, I think, we don't need to rush into a folly. We need to take the appropriate time to make sure it's something that the city is proud of, that the property owners are proud of, and that, that we can one day, hopefully soon, all visit and enjoy, a cold one with each other. I think I'm appreciative of the suggestion of Councilor Farwell that was seconded by Councilor Rodriguez. We've got to kind of put this matter to bed at this level, and then have it picked up by the Economic Development Committee, where maybe it can be kicked around a little more, without taking everybody's time to do it. You said that suggestions were made, that they're currently being worked on at the design level, and then hopefully sometime within the next few months, we'll have some work product in which we can present to the property owners. I think that's wise, and I hope that process happens as soon as possible. Just lastly, I know that there was an email sent out kind of summarizing the property owners' positions. I think that was a good email that really kind of clarified what they see as the major issues here. And I believe they asked for a meeting to be called regarding that position. Has anybody responded to any of the property owners just acknowledging receipt of the email and that, hey, we're working on this, we'll get back to you?
Yes, Counselor, I did acknowledge the receipt of the email or the letter, and delivered the hard set of plans that they had requested.
Okay. So I think it's important that when appropriate, we hold that meeting. I know there are specific people requested to be part of that meeting. I hope those requested to be part of the meeting are part of the meeting. So I think we're in a direction, but at this point, hauling all the property owners out before this committee, this is the fourth time maybe you've been here. I think we should put this matter to bed here at the finance level and pick it back up at the Economic Development Committee. Thank you, Madam Chair.
You're welcome. Councilor Tavares.
Yes. All right, good evening. Thank you for being here.
Could you move your microphone closer?
Yes, I think I agree with all my colleagues. I think you guys should work as a team. Still not. Can you hear like this better?
Thank you.
I know.
Thank you, ma'am.
Can you hear better? Well, like I said, I just agree with my colleagues. I think you guys should work as a team. Even probably before you guys come to us and make decision based, whatever is not affect them, because as we know, we spoke that before. We know the way they're going through a lot. They don't even have support and know they're going to go through the crisis. It's very important before you guys make any decision, sit down with them and partner with them, talk with them, because the communication is important. Communication is the key. Like, for example, if they not agree with this, let's put it this way, they all together going to be involved. I think that's going to be amazing if you guys totally work with that, not just come like this and everybody's going to be expecting and bring things like this and Nova Star, they're not part of it. It's going to be affect them because in the day we work to make it right. We work as a partnership. We work in the way they can be happy. We work the way they can feel we support them. That's why they elect us for us to work with them. We don't want to, the way you guys can make a decision without them getting involved, or just send any letter, here you go, we're going to do this. I don't think that's right. That's the thing I keep on saying. In the city, we have a poor communication. And then sometimes we so-called, sometimes we work as a team. Most of the time, I don't see teamwork. I think totally have a meeting with them, invited everybody on the table, go to their backyard, a restaurant, whatever, and said, okay, this is what can we do? What do you think? A and B, and then everybody's going to be on the same page and agree and make the final decision and come to us and say, okay, this is what we agree. That make you feel great. They're going to feel part of it. They're going to feel like, they've been support. They're going to feel a part of the team and not left alone, because we want to work with them for a better way. That's all I can say.
May I respond, Council? So the drawing that was delivered by the planner to the business owners is a schematic design that was done 3 years ago. we went through 16 versions of a schematic design for the Council on Aging. Council on Aging just went to construction last week. There was back and forth. I expect the same on this project, but we're not there yet. I think that you have to give us the opportunity to try and get it right. We may go through 7 more sketches, but what we're doing are just schematic designs. We're not spending the treasury on anything that can be built until the schematic design is properly presented to the business community, and they're happy, and you're happy as councilors, and the mayor's happy, and then we move to the next phase, which would be the construction documents and bidding phase. So we're not running this down anybody's throat. We're trying to be collaborative. We're just not there yet. And I ask for your patience and let us work through the process and try and get a schematic design that's presentable to the city, that the city will be proud of.
And then, okay, actually, thank you so much for everything. I know you and Mr. May, you're going to do such a great, thank you, Mr. May, you've done such a great job for the community. And then as you got this partner, like he said, he does such a great work. But we just actually was doing the first open. I appreciate it, right? And I think you guys are going to be better, work as a team. And I totally appreciate it. Because as long as they're happy, we're happy. If they're not happy, we're not. Teamwork. Communication is the key. Thank you.
Anyone else? Good evening, sir.
Hi, good evening, everyone. My name is Chris Charlo. I represent Embu. My issue here, I feel like we're wasting time, and lots of it, and for no reason, right? There are some projects that do require a lot of planning and a lot of meetings, right? I don't think this is one of them. This requires some planning and some meetings, but not 20, right? And if we are going to have 20 meetings, they have to mean something, right? Like, I'm puzzled to why are we here today, because this feels like the same meeting as I was here the last time. This is starting to feel like Groundhog Day a little. So I'm sorry for those that don't. Because if we're gonna fix a light bulb, right? And I see us, grabbing like a ladder, we're looking for a bulb, right? But if we sit down the TV and watch a baseball game, what are we doing here? And this seems like this is dragging for no reason. Like, we finally decided, us business owners, to get together and try to move the process along. And it was that logic that we put the letter together, and we are forming a committee, right? So to try to move it along, to let everyone knows that this is where we stand, so this will be the effort. So my hope was we will have a meeting on that. So we all sit together before we start doing like a plan. So before we start writing a plan, so we have like a ballpark or like the big picture, this is where we're trying to go, before we start doing another plan. Because the reason we're here, because a plan was done without the business owners, and we were not involved. So it seems like we're doing the same thing again. So it just feels weird, right? Like, we don't get a phone call, like we sent a letter, then like we met at the mayor's office, like I think a couple of months ago, like 2 months ago, thank you. And it was like, well, like we have to work it out. This is like difficult, but what's difficult about it? This is fixing, like to me it's very simple. Let's get together, like this is, okay, like, like the owners want this, and no, we can't have it this way, let's do this, and this can happen like in a couple of hours in my mind, right? So that's all I gotta say. I think I spoke too long already. So thank you, everyone.
I just have one question before he leaves, okay? Basically, I totally understand exactly what you tried to say. Basically, you feel like, the communication does not have much communication. You guys literally left it alone without communication. That was the thing I just been saying, because I know sometimes we have poor communication. I can tell you the truth. That's why I believe right now, because he just stepping in, I think he's going to do very great. And then I hope he does have a communication to you guys and have, like, plan details before you come here, because nobody want to waste time, like you just saying, come here all the time for the same things and same thing. Because I hear this so many times, the same thing, like you said, not with the progress or any plan details. I totally believe, like, probably next time when you guys come, things going to work better. And I hope they do work as a partner with you guys, because it's for you guys, not for us. And we're just here to hear, not necessarily like the same thing again. You guys must have things in place the way everybody is happy before we come here to grant or to process and work with you guys. That's all I can say. I'm totally agree with you, and I hope everything work well. We're here to support you guys.
Well, yes, thank you very much. We could have like a meeting tonight. I don't know what your schedule is. So let's have a meeting, right? And then let's talk it out and try to figure something out. Because, like this is happening, like Councilor Rodriguez was saying, this is right in our backyard. And it feels like, well, like we know better. So we're going to do it over here. So once we figure it out, then we'll present it to you guys, because we know better, right? So, so let's get together and get this thing done, okay?
Together we can.
All right.
Thank you. Councilor Azak?
Thank you. So I have a question. One of the first questions that came up almost, a year ago when this was first proposed was, is there another location that this could go? Because obviously these business owners are not in support of it going right where their parking spaces are. So, Mr. May, this is a question for you. I believe the question was asked if this project could happen at the corner of Montello and, I was confused, on Center Street? Crescent, sorry, at the park that's already there, Finnegan Park. Is this something that could happen at a different location close to there?
We have explored this issue. That is land that has been acquired, and I think it's Article 97 that has dedicated as a park for passive recreational use. To pull that up and to put in a different use, which would be active and commercial activity happening in that park, that would violate the Chapter 97. And so this was the best piece of property that we had, because it is a piece of real estate that the city owns and has an opportunity to develop.
Okay. Thank you for that explanation, because I remember it came up, but I never heard the answer.
It is Article 97, isn't it?
I'm sorry?
It is Article 97.
Okay, thank you. So, question that's come up is, why not, well, I know what, you have asked the business owners what they want. We were at that meeting, and they just don't want to lose their parking spaces. They don't want to have that be in their back. That was the biggest concern for them, is losing the parking. But have you possibly maybe get them involved in the process, so there isn't this going back and forth, and 2 years down the line, they're looking at plans that aren't, so we're not in the same situation, so this isn't dragging out. Mr. Pilata.
Thank you. Through the chair. As I indicated, I was asked to look at it independently 2 months ago. I looked at everything in the file. I can agree with a lot of their complaints. All right, so it's not that they're being ignored. It's that we're trying to work on what was discussed at the last meeting that we had with them. And there was a laundry list. It was more than just parking. It was deliveries. It was parking. It was bathrooms. It was a concession stand. There was a lot of things in that meeting. We're not turning a blind eye. We're just not moving fast enough for it. Evidently, we're not moving fast enough for everybody. So I give you my word that I will reach out to the business community tomorrow, try to set something up to at least establish a baseline, and maybe explain the process a little better than I'm doing tonight on how we get to schematic design, because schematic design is a give and take. And round one that was done in the year 2020 appears to not be satisfactory. So we'll get to that point.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for the explanation, gentlemen. Once again, I mean, I can just publicly announce to the business owners in that area that from day one, we, as a council, and I know I've spoken with my colleagues, that we're here to support you and nothing's going to happen without it actually, without you being on board, because we've tried to prove how important your business is to us, and many of us frequent your businesses, and we know you've supported us, as Councilor Farwell has stated throughout the years, so I just want to reassure you that we're going to continue meetings until we're all happy with the results. Thank you, Madam Chair.
You're welcome. Councilors, I didn't entertain. Do you want to? Please, well, actually, no. Please speak to us, sir. Forgive me.
There's not much I really wanted to, the business owners just, one of the things I just wanted to emphasize is that we're not just business owners there, we're actually property owners.
Right.
We actually own the properties back there, so, I mean, it's not just someone that's just renting or leasing, their business and they're going to be gone in a few years. We're stuck there. That's where we plan on making our future, and our kids going to be taking over that stuff. So that's why we're on it. And we prepared that letter because we wanted to put something in writing and let them know where we stand, time stamped, let them know where we wanted to be and how we wanted to move forward. Like anything in plans, there's X and O's. I play sports, so X and O's, but at the end of the day, when you're planning to play a game, the coaches put you in there to prepare you with the game plan, so you know what the game plan is, so when you move forward, and everyone's checks are okay with all the game plan moving forward. So everybody's on board. So that's what we're just looking for. It's just making sure that we're implementing on the steps of the game. So before you even send out a plan, we want to be sitting down and seeing where you're at. So there's no point of putting something out there that we're just going to reject anyway, and then we're waiting back another few weeks. So that's just basically it. We just want to be part of the process. We've been down there in downtown for a while, so we've seen ups and downs, and we just want to be part of the process moving forward. That's it. Appreciate the time.
Thank you, Mr. De Silva.
Motion to recommend favorably back to the full city council.
Second.
All right, a motion has been made and properly seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Thank you, it's recommended favorably. Thank you, gentlemen.
Item number 11, be it resolved to have Sergeant Edward Cruikshank, Chairman of the Brockton Fireworks Task Force, appear before the Finance Committee of the Brockton City Council to discuss planned activities this summer. Invited Sergeant Edward Cruikshank.
Councilor D'Agostino?
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion that we postpone this matter until the August 14th meeting. There are some related incidents that are still under investigation. I think it would make sense to postpone this until the PD has had the opportunity to complete those investigations.
Second.
All right, a motion's been made and properly seconded. All in favor? All opposed? Thank you, it carries.
Item number 12, resolved, whereas many Brockton Public School students walk to and from school, and whereas pedestrians use sidewalks and roadways for travel, and whereas councilors receive, periodic inquiries and complaints from residents regarding intersection, pedestrian, and student safety, and whereas it is critically important to update and renew goals and objectives for the safety of residents through the efforts of our Traffic Commission and Department of Public Works. Now therefore be it resolved, the Traffic Commissioner and the DPW Commissioner be invited to a meeting of the Council to discuss the feasibility and implementation of a citywide study to update regulatory signage, crosswalk markings, areas lacking sidewalks, and such other issues as may relate to the safety of school children and pedestrians. Invited Captain Mark Porcaro, Brockton Police Department, Patrick Hill, DPW Commissioner.
Good evening, gentlemen.
Good evening, Madam Chair, fellow councilors.
Good evening, councilors.
Good evening. Councilor Farwell?
Madam Chair and councilors, this will be a very quick resolve. I filed this because I have had parents and residents contact me about children who have to walk to various schools. We do not have sidewalks in every area of the city. I'm sure there is signage that needs to be replaced. There may be some areas where perhaps we should have a pedestrian light, solar-powered, where children might be able to activate it. I'm just looking for a citywide review of how well are we enhancing safety for children walking to and from school. How well are we addressing pedestrian issues? I don't know if they have reflectorized crosswalks now with special applications on the roadway, but I thought that these two gentlemen would be perfect to get together with the schools, find out the projected walking population in September, and then come back to us in a couple of months with an update. I'm just looking for an inventory of what should we be doing in this city to enhance school safety, pedestrian safety, and actually intersection safety to the extent that we have growth and vegetation that sometimes obstructs a view. And I know that the Commissioner Hill is very proactive on getting a crew out and cutting down vegetation that obstructs viewpoints, but all of you may have some areas that you want looked at, and you can communicate that to them. So I really wasn't looking for anything more tonight than that outline that I've offered to you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
You're welcome. Councilor Azak.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to recognize, I know Mrs. Mary Waldron sent, I believe, all of us an email, and Mrs. Waldron is the Executive Director of Old Colony Planning Council. I'm not sure if you've received it, Captain, the email, or Commissioner, but she states that there is complete streets funding. There's a program, so there is funding that could come in through them, and I know she follows up with the Traffic Commission with a lot of, what's on the agenda, so I just wanted to mention that out there to see if that, make sure that we communicate with the different agencies and see if there is funding that we could get.
I can certainly do that, Counselor. No
Great,
problem.
thank you very much. Thank you, Madam Chair.
You're welcome.
So if no one else wants to speak, I would make a motion that we postpone this to a FinCom in September and give these two gentlemen a couple of months to gather some information and then come back to us with some recommendations. And from there, we can forward recommendations to the mayor if funding is needed for some improvements.
Second.
Okay, motion's been made and properly seconded. On the motion, I just wanted to say, you waited here the whole evening. Is there any statement you'd like to make or anything you'd like to share with us?
Anything, Commissioner?
No. I'll just say that, it was kind of unclear when this was filed as to what the expectation was. I'm glad I have a little bit more direction, and I'll try to get as much stuff as I can get prepared for September. So.
Stormwater is not involved, Commissioner.
Just two quick things. I think I had mentioned it during the budget hearings when I was up here for Traffic Commission, and Mr. Clarkson and the mayor can speak more to it later on. I think they're going to give you a presentation, but the state, Mass DOT, I'm part of a group that we meet periodically every 3 weeks. The state has identified Brockton as in need of traffic money. So I believe over the next few years, Brockton stands to gain tens of millions of dollars for roadway improvements. So that's certainly a positive thing that I wanted to make mention. And one of the things that we do every year, regardless of any state help, but you had mentioned crosswalk markings. We're in the process right now. We're doing the annual line pavement, the pavement line pavement. And one of the things that we do is to repaint each and every crosswalk every year.
That's great.
Thank you.
Thank you. So a motion's been made and properly seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Thank you. This will be postponed to a FinCom meeting in September. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor.
Good evening.
Anything else? Councilor Azak.
A moment of councilors' recognition. I would just like to announce that we will be having an ordinance meeting Wednesday, July 26th at 6 p.m. here in council chambers. The agenda for Wednesday's, the 26th meeting is strictly on items that needed to be advertised for zoning. So we will have another meeting later on with some other items that have been referred to ordinance. But The meeting is Wednesday, July 26, 6 p.m. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Farwell?
Yeah, very quickly, colleagues, not in reference to any particular incident, but just in general, the weekend and today. 113 motorbikes traveling up and down Grove Street. They were up in the Montello section of the city, circling around motorists, terrorizing them. Loud parties until 2:45 in the morning. And then today, unfortunately, the incident in front of the Brockton District Court. I don't want to lose the battle here. And I think in future resolves, we've got to take a look at the staffing of the police department with the existing personnel. We've got to look at how perhaps we can enhance recruitment, because I understand we are having trouble filling existing vacancies. And I'm going to tell you that given the change in society and the proliferation of guns, it would not be unreasonable to look at 30 more people for the police department, which would probably be about $4.8 million. And that's not to make arrests. That's so that if someone calls and they need help, we can send someone. Because I've listened to the police radio in the last few days, and the men and women are really stressed. I mean, they are going from call to call to call. Some of them are tied up at a call for a protracted period of time. And, you know, I sit here and I sometimes feel like we give the police lip service that, yeah, we know you need this, we know you need that. You know what? Their safety is important too, not just the residents. So I hope some of you will think about resolves to file in the next month or two. I think we need to have some healthy discussions, and fortunately this group, as we proved tonight, can have a rational and great discussion even when there are disagreements. But the status quo is not acceptable. The status quo is not acceptable. And personally, I'd like to see the anti-crime unit on the police department reactivated. Those are people who are in civilian clothes, in cars that don't look like the police. They gather intel, they provide it into the police department. They're on patrol. If something happens in a cruiser, a marked unit gets involved in a problem, they can respond rapidly. I'd like to see that anti-crime unit come back. And I'm talking about crime prevention. I'm sensitive to the fact you don't arrest your way out of an issue. You hopefully provide the resources that are needed to reduce the opportunity for crime. So I'm not going to go on any longer. I'm just telling you we need to back the police. We need to get them some more resources. We've got to help with recruitment, because if last weekend and today is any example, we got issues. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilors, we are adjourned.